Good morning everyone and welcome to Wheel Work. Today we're going to not be working on bikes, actually going to be working on this Falcon here. So even though all my videos have been on bikes so far, I actually do mainly work on cars. This is my very good friend Corey's Falcon. It's an FG Falcon G6E Turbo. He's just picked this thing up, quite low Ks, completely and totally standard, with the exception of tinted windows. He's driven down from Melbourne late last night, so he's actually still fast asleep. I do live about 4 hours away from Melbourne. Plan for this car is to do some stuff to it on a budget, so it does need some maintenance things. It needs brakes, does have a driveline vibration, which we're going to see if we can address and fix on the cheap. But the majority of what we're doing to this car is stuff that I've just got lying around. So in the over 20 years that I've been a mechanic, I have accumulated a vast amount of parts for various vehicles. So pretty much everything we're going to be doing on this car is stuff that I've got here, whether it be maintenance or modification related. We do have some stuff put aside that I've dug out of my shelves and stuff that we plan on doing on this car. So I'm going to do a center muffler delete. There's a set of front and rear brakes there with slotted and drilled rotors, which I've had lying around as well. I do know this thing does need back brakes. There's a transmission cooler, there's a fuel filter, there's some Alpine speakers. I've actually got some more Alpine speakers over on the shelf over there. That is an intake kit with battery relocation, so we did actually buy that in. That's the only thing that we have bought for this car so far. Everything else is just all crap I've had lying around. So we might also do some stuff that doesn't cost anything at all. So that's that basically. Yeah, we'll get into it and yeah, keep you updated as we go. Probably going to be a couple of days worth of work with everything we sort of got planned, but yeah, we'll get into it. Oh yeah, so far all I've done is put the car up on stands. I've taken the wheels off, had a bit more of a look at the brakes, and what we're actually going to start with is I'm going to take these badges off the boot lid, just the G6E and the Turbo. So this will match the other side of the boot lid there, which is plain. We'll do that now. How I do this is I just get fishing wire and get it in behind the badge, and I just sort of like do a backward and forward motion with both hands, and it just sort of cuts the tape behind it. Leaves you a little bit of residue, and then you can just clean it off with like your fingernail and then some cut and polish. You can also heat it up with a heat gun, but my heat gun has crapped itself, so I won't be doing that. Right, I got the badges off the tailgate. There's still a bit of shmoo there because some bright spark at some point has actually super glued those badges on. So I just took my time to not damage the paint, but I've got some good cut and polish coming that I've just ordered. That'll take care of that. As for the vibration and the driveline that we were talking about, I don't know if you can really see, but I've got the tail shaft out of it. Because the tail shaft center bearing was flogged, very common problem on these. So I've just basically put the tail shaft in the vise, I've split the tail shaft, and I'm just about to knock that center bearing off now. You can see it's all sort of like cracked and torn. So take care of that. I've got a new one of them coming as well, they're not too expensive. So once I get that apart, I'll probably start on the brakes. Tail shaft is apart, center bearing is off, ready to go in the bin. So how I do these, I don't know how other people do, but I mark the shaft before I separate it. 24mm spanner, which I have cut down. So it sort of looks like that. And I basically put that in there to get onto that 24mm nut, which goes onto there. And I hold it in the vise by the uni, and I loosen it. They are tight as all buggery, so that's why I've cut this section off, because I actually slide a bit of pipe over the spanner and just reef off it with both hands. Super tight, and they do get done up quite tight as well. Let's clean up my mess. And I also put a bit of grease on the spline and a bit of Loctite on the thread when I put it back together. But now I'm going to get all the brakes off this thing, and I'm actually also going to do a brake fluid flush. So brake fluid on this is quite disgusting. Yum. So I'll do that at the same time. Going good so far. Had a bit of a setback though with the front brakes. The discs that I had lying around were actually incorrect, so got no idea what they're off. But we've got new pads in the front. Boom. Put the rotors, slotted and drilled rotors on the back with new pads as well. Boom. Yes, I'm very much aware that it's a bit funny having upgraded rotors on the back and not the front. Got Corey, who's awake, who owns the car.
Hey-o.
He's under there doing diff oil, because the diff oil was absolutely rank in this thing. So, got that going on. And I'm about to do the brake fluid now. Do a brake fluid flush to get rid of this abomination of what someone might call brake fluid. We'll keep going. Cool beans. Brake fluid is changed. Brakes are bled. We've also changed power steering oil. I've adjusted the handbrake, so brakes are officially finished. These things do suck, the handbrakes on these things. Anyone that's worked on Falcons will tell you how much of a mongrel they are. I can hear me parts guy is actually just rocked up, so he'll have the Tailshaft center bearing, so I'll get going on that. And I've got Corey taking the front bar off, and I'll explain why shortly. So next bit of progress report, we have the Tailshaft back in with the new center bearing installed. That's done. Also popped a new fuel filter on it, also had one of them here, so it worked out well. We took the center section of the exhaust out because it made it easier getting the Tailshaft back in, and we are also going to do a center muffler delete. But next job that I'm going to do is remove this. So this is the factory transmission cooler that Falcons run. It's an absolutely stupid design. Transmission oil runs out of the transmission, goes through these lines into here. This has cooling fins in it, and then you've got coolant coming in and out of these rubber hoses. So the cooled coolant that comes out of the cold side of the radiator flows through that, as well as transmission oil. And the chilled coolant, which is still pretty hot, is what cools the transmission oil through the fins. Problem is these things always fail internally, and they end up filling the cooling system up with dirty transmission oil and filling the transmission up with coolant. So what you basically do is you can get fittings, which I also had, which go in here, that just convert that to hose, and then you just sort of loop these two together to delete that all together, and then we'll just put an aftermarket transmission cooler on the front of the car, which I also had, which is why Corey had started taking the front bumper bar off, but it looks like we should be able to get away with what we want to do just by having the grill off. So that's the plan. Cool, trans cooler's pretty much done. I'm just waiting for a fitting to join those two coolant lines together. The one I had was the wrong size. So, got those fittings in there. Right across here, they step down. Then that goes over the cross member. From there, it follows the factory aircon line. Down there. Comes down through the front. Down there. And trans cooler on the front of the car. So problem solved. Yes, it's not the straightest, but it is a second-hand trans cooler, so it does have a few little blemishes. Another one of those things that I just had lying around. Just ripped up a couple of brackets to step it down off the bonnet catch. So yeah, we are getting there. Got the center section of the exhaust off. I've cut a section of 3-inch pipe to suit. So that will be the next job. Will be delete that thing. An update. So trans cooler is officially done. Everything is all out of the way. That little fitting that I was waiting for to come in for the water pipe has come in. So that's in, joint together. We've put new coolant in it and bled it up. We just had it idling for, sort of 20 minutes till the fans came on. And we ran it through the gears and topped up the auto fluid as well. Yes, the exhaust center section is still off it, which is over there. Corey's having a bit of a play with the muffler delete pipe at the moment. So, but we just had it idling. Besides that, we've done some LED parkers, some really bright LED parkers, some upgraded headlight globes, and we've also done LED number plate lights. And besides that, I've got the front door trims off both sides, taking the front speakers out and doing a pair of Polk Audio front splits. So I've just got the crossover tucked in behind that wiring there, tweeter up on the trim, and then the woofer will go on the factory location. So I'll do that. I'll finish that off, and then seeing how we go for time, because it is starting to get late, we might chop that up and do that muffler delete. And then we still have to do the battery relocation from that side to that side, fit the intake kit, which puts the pod filter over there. And I've also got an upgraded turbo oil feed line, which is, my camera will focus, sort of goes on down there, comes up, it's this little pipe here, goes around onto the top of the turbo. We've got a braided one that's got an inline filter, so we'll do that as well. Put the grill back in, and happy days. Rightio, speakers are done. And just sort of see them in there. There's the woofer and the tweeter. Both front doors are put back together. It's all sorted. Got the front wheels back on. I'm gonna call it a day for that. Tomorrow I'll do the exhaust. So I'll get that sorted out first with the center muffler delete. Chop that out, weld in that section, and do that. We'll bang the grill back on, and then we'll pull all of this stuff off, do the battery relocate and fit the intake, and we'll pull the plugs out and have a look at them. If it needs a set of plugs, we'll throw some plugs in it. That'll just sort of finish off things service wise on this, and yeah, that's it. We'll check back with you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. It's a new day and we're back into it bright and early. Car has not finished itself overnight, unfortunately, but I have come out this morning, cut the center muffler out of the pipe, and I've fitted this back up to the car, tack welded the pipe in place and removed it and fully welded it, just giving it a bit of black paint. Give it the old painted black, put it back, hit the track type scenario. So we'll let that dry a bit, we'll bolt that back on, and then we'll start ripping apart all of this stuff. The exhaust is on. Boom. There's so much room for activities under there now. There's no muffler. So it's all sitting pretty good. We just threw the back wheels on as well. So we're pretty much done from underneath the car. And this is the first start with it, with that center muffler delete, cold start. Fire it up, Corey. That actually sounds amazing. We'll just give it a small rev, it is still cold. Sounds amazing. Alright, so we've got all this stuff out. Intake is off, airbox is out, battery and battery box are out because battery is going to get relocated to there. I've pulled a plug out. Yeah, plugs aren't great, so I've ordered a new set of plugs for it. We'll probably, these things are on a factory plug gap of 1.1 mil. We'll probably gap them down to 0.8 because Corey is planning on getting a tune done in this thing in the near future. But before I go any further with anything, well, I've got everything out in as much space as possible. I'm going to do the turbo oil feed line upgrade, which is that there, and got this little inline filter there. So I'll pull all that off and I'll get that done first. Alrighty, so just on the battery relocation, so I just thought I'd show you guys how we're doing this. So that is basically all the factory stuff there. as it normally sits. Battery reload has been done here. You do have to drill a couple of holes to secure the bracket that the battery sits on. So how I've done it, and I'm sure everyone on the internet will tell me that I've done it wrong. Positive wire, I've just run down there behind the back of the ABS pump and all that, and I've bolted it directly to the back of the starter motor. So I've done that. Negative, I'll probably just run from, obviously from the battery, and I'll just pick up one of the factory mounts on the body for the negative. Now what I'm going to do with the positive, the instruction says just to tape these up, and I don't really like that. So I'm going to cut this battery terminal off, and I'm just going to terminate it with just a ring terminal, and I'm just going to bolt it to this factory mount here where these other earth wires go. They probably all go to the same spot, don't care, I'm just going to do it anyway. And then the positive battery terminal, so which comes from the starter motor, instead of taping the battery terminal up, I'm going to cut this wire, the bottom one, and terminate that as well, because then it just comes back from there and goes to this point here. So I'm just going to basically delete this wire and the battery terminal, have a ring terminal straight on this here, and that'll just go straight to that mount. So that'll just neaten all that up and get it all out of the way. Rightio, there we are. Negative is on. I've just bolted it to the factory airbox mount there, ground off a little bit of paint, so that's all good. Don't worry, internet, there is cable that goes from the body to the motor of the car for anyone loses their lid. There's that negative that went to the battery terminal. I've just put a ring terminal on that and put it to that spot. And then this one comes up and just goes boop, straight onto there. So that's done. And I'll go back on. Nice and neat. So there's no battery terminals, just covered in insulation tape or isolation tape hanging out. So it's all neat and tidy. So now we'll get started on the intake. Maybe we might have lunch, but you will find out shortly when I come back with the next video. Cool, intake is on, all installed. Looking goodera. Corey wants to leave the lid off for maximum turbo noises. He thinks it's going to get him more girls, I think. Not really sure. Or was it the boys, Corey? He's ignoring me.
One special boy in particular.
The hell's wrong with that guy? Anyway, we're just waiting for the plugs to come in. So once they are in, we'll throw the new plugs in. That's the breather that will just cable tie neatly up across the back there, and it just goes onto that. Oh, it reeks. Wow. So that's that. We'll get it off the stands, and I'll just do a final video once it's all finished and job done. All right, everyone, we are all done. Car is all back together. New plugs are in. Engine cover is back on. Got that hose on. Cable tied up out the way. Goes on to the intake pipe. So all in all, it was about a day and a half worth of work to do everything that we did. So we did diff oil. We did a Tailshaft center bearing. We topped up the transmission. We did a coolant flush, a brake fluid flush. We did rear rotors and pads. We did front brake pads. We did power steering oil. We did a center muffler delete. We did LED number plate lights, LED parkers, upgraded headlights. We debadged the boot lid. We did Polk audio front splits. We did a battery relocation, driver side engine bay intake. What else? We did a turbo oil feed line. So yeah, quite a fair bit, but something easily done over the course of a weekend. To see how it sounds, make sure it makes some turbo noises. Just stall it up a bit, Corey. Oh yeah. Go again. Sounds like it's turbo car. Sounds like it should. Beautiful. Remember to like and subscribe. Thanks always for watching. Take care on the roads, and until next time, be safe, and I'll see you then. It'd be rude to not get a video of how it sounds from outside the car. Sorry about the wind noise.